Welcome to discussion and comment four. Today we're going to talk a little bit about this whole idea of DEI. This is sort of uh, uh, almost a hot topic, if you will. A couple years ago, DEI was a given, right? After Floyd, 5 odd some odd years ago, a lot of corporations did sort of take a step back and they said, okay, wait a minute, maybe some of our hiring, maybe some of our practices have been um, uh, unfair, right? And so, as with most things, right, the pendulum within our society swings back and forth, and it swung from one side, some would argue, too far. And a lot of a couple companies were formed that were doing DEI training for corporations, and there were a number of issues that sort of came out of those, and there was backlash, and so now we're seeing that backlash today, where some corporations have completely abandoned their DEI, and others have sort of held on to it as defining part of their culture. And companies like Costco being one of them. On the other side, Target has abandoned everything. JP Morgan has retained a big piece of their DEI efforts. And one of the reasons why Costco and JP Morgan, as examples, have retained them is they see the economic value of diversity. I use this case study in my one of my on-campus classes, and the example I use is if I was in charge of marketing for a large company, and we decided that one of the target markets for our product were young Asian females, would I be the right person? Being an older Latino white guy, would I be the right guy to come up with a marketing campaign targeting young Asian females? And the answer is absolutely not, right? And so a lot of corporations have recognized, hey, look, if we want to reach these target markets, we need to understand them. And the reality is that, I don't know anything about. First of all, I know nothing about women in general. So let's get that clearly established. But young I know nothing about young Asian females, and so I would be the wrong person, for example, to try to come up with a marketing campaign targeting them. And other companies are catching on to this as well. It's kind of like we need a diverse workforce, primarily from a business perspective, because we want to be able to engage those communities with messages that are going to resonate with them. And so this DEI issue is just really it's not going away, and under pressure for sure. And so I've got this case study that I created with ChatGPT. I'll be honest with you guys, I use ChatGPT a lot because it helps me sort of think a little bit. And so what I wanted to do is to create a discussion whereby we looked at sort of a semi-real world scenario, and what would the consequences be? And so we've got this company, and they're a small but rapidly growing coffee shop. Right, I'm going to let you read it. And they've got an issue in front of them. Right, they're trying to figure out, how do we hire? And and part of the issue is that they're going to be in the new store is going to be in an area where there is more people of color, lots of Latinos, and they run ads, but the only people that apply are of a certain type because they're connected to they're close to a college, and the college students are applying for jobs. They're trying to figure out, what do we do, right? And so they also have this catering contract that they're trying to figure out what to do with. And so this isn't deep, right? I'm not asking, this isn't the social science class. But what I do want you to do is sort of put yourself in their shoes, because as entrepreneurs, these are going to be issues that we have to face. And so at least this is sort of a softer way of approaching it. But I am looking for some some good discussions here, right? And so I'm giving you some prompts. What are the potential short, long-term business impact of each decision? And especially on the hiring side, here's what we know to be true is that people will navigate to businesses where they feel they're a little bit more comfortable. Which is why, if you've ever been to a Phil's Coffee in the city or anywhere, I think I don't know, are they outside of the city now? You go to the city and you go to a Phil's, their workforce is incredibly diverse. Everybody works at Phil's, and therefore everybody feels comfortable there. Personally, I don't like the coffee. It's not hot enough. I don't like coffee hot, but hey, the vibe is brilliant, and they've got good pastries, and I like pastries. And so do you create an environment that um, attracts everybody, makes everybody feel comfortable? Then you're gonna have to change your hiring a little bit. So that's really what this case is about. It's not long. It's not designed to be political, but hopefully it is designed to be thought provoking. And so it's the first time I'm running this case on this for this class. I've been using it for about a year on my own campus classes, and the discussions are brilliant. And so I'm sort of hoping that the discussions in this class will be just as brilliant. As always, if you have questions, suggestions, comments, complaints, or remarks, you know how to find me. Peace.